All right, welcome everyone. Chris Petri here. Thanks for coming by. We're actually gonna have a great time here. We're gonna do some beautiful tropical palm trees. We're gonna have a fun time doing the beaches, the distant hills, the palm trees, all the fine details. We're gonna actually have a great fun time creating a nice light sky. We're going to do the alla prima technique. So we're going to cover all of this and more. We're going to use our standard Schmincke palette. I'm also going to cover some ideas on framing here, matting and framing your painting. Also some great ideas on methods to create your composition when you first start your painting. So I have a couple quick little ideas and techniques that you can use to get a great design for your watercolor painting right from the beginning without having to go through hours and hours of thinking about it, researching, all these other things. Right from the beginning, you can use a simple couple of methods and techniques that'll get you a really beautiful design right from the start, so you don't have to be thinking about it for, again, hours and hours. We'll get a great painting out of this. We're going to have a fun time doing it. You're going to enjoy it. Let's start the process in just a second. All right. Hey, it's Chris Petri. Thanks so much for coming by. We're going to have another fantastic time here, painting and drawing in watercolor. We're going to do a beautiful tropical scene with some beautiful palm trees and some water, maybe some ducks, kind of just enjoying themselves, paddling through the water along the coastal area. We're going to have some mountains in the background. We're going to do a beautiful painting here. First thing I do before I start painting is I kind of encourage everybody, please do this, please do this if you can. Sometimes I do get in the spur of the moment, I get excited and I start just putting my papers, I put my watercolor paper down on my board or my easel, and I start painting and drawing and painting and having a great time, and I lose track of maybe some of the things I need to think about beforehand. But that's just part of inspiration. I know all of you probably have gone through that in some point in time. You let me know in the comments section if this happens to you too. But sometimes, in the spur of the moment, you just enjoy yourself and you want to just do some painting or some sketching or whatever, and you don't really keep, do all this planning out ahead of time. But this is really important. If you can do this some way, a lot of artists I know that I've seen in the past, they sort of always have a discipline of just always having a few mats like we have here. So this is a mat, and you can buy these mats online of all different shapes and sizes. They come in standard formats so that they fit with your watercolor paper. So most watercolor paper pads that you buy or watercolor paper, they come in standard sizes, and usually when you buy a standard size mat like this, it'll come in a standard size that it fits right over the paper that you're purchasing. So it's just a matter of matching them up together. So in any case, this mat happens to be an 1114 mat, which means that's the outside dimension of the mat itself. And we talked about it in previous videos that I did want to share this with you just as we're starting out, before the video starts here and before we start drawing and painting. I just wanted to give a quick little refresher on matting and framing your paintings. It's real important because if you want to start putting some of your paintings up on the wall in your house, or if you want to put them into competitions, or if you want to give them as gifts, whatever the case, you kind of want to make it easier for yourself, because in the beginning I did the same thing too. When I was first starting out in watercolor, painting and drawing in watercolor, I was making all kinds of odd size paintings, and then when it came time to mat and put a nice beautiful mat over my painting, I found that I couldn't find a mat that would fit. Either it was too small. The window here, see, this is the window of the mat. That's 9.5 by 7.5 inches, the actual window opening of the mat. That wouldn't fit my painting. I wouldn't have enough painting to cover it. Then when I go down to the next size mat below this one, then it was cutting off too much of my painting. Does that make sense? So sometimes if you try to just think ahead a little bit and say, what size paper am I using and what size mat will fit on my paper that I'm actually working on when I'm doing my paintings, you'll find it goes so much easier for you. So this way, again, if you do want to, put your paintings in frames with mats and you want to put them on the wall, you want to give them as gifts already framed, you can go out and purchase frames and mats. Real simple. If you just keep your painting within a real set size, then you'll never go wrong. You'll always be able to just take a mat and drop it on your painting, buy a frame that fits, like an 11 by 14 frame fits this perfectly. So you can go out and buy, a bazillion different kind of 11 by 14 frames, black ones, blue ones, red, green, white, wood tone colors, gold leaf, silver, whatever it is. You can go out to these great big box stores that we have nearby our houses, or even online on Amazon or whatever. And you can go out, and there's great, framing. There's great framing online stores that you can go. And I have to say this too. If you have paintings that don't fit in a standard size mat or frame, you can also purchase custom size mats. They'll actually cut them exactly to the sizes you need them. So always remember that too, that you have that resource. If you go online, there's many framing and art supply stores that have framing and mats, that sell mats and frames. They'll cut you a perfect size mat, whatever dimension you need it to be. So always remember that. You always have that. But the only thing is it's a little more expensive, and, it limits your options. But if you always try to remember, if you can paint within this standard size of your mat and frames, then you don't have to worry. You can just do a painting just like this within this size, and then you can go to your local big box stores where they have all the frames and all the yarn and all the pencils and all the, hobby stores. They have frames, tons of frames. You can just go there and say, oh, wow, I've got 20 or 30 different frames I can choose from over here in the hobby store. You just bring your painting. And, I'll go over that too in another video. Let me know in the comment section with a thumbs up, if you think that you want to kind of get further into this detail of framing. So I'm not going to do everything here on framing, but just giving you the basic idea of, if you have a standard size mat or two that you keep in your studio, and then you use this, you put it down onto your paper before you start working. And then all you do is you take your pencil and you do a super light, barely visible pencil line around this opening of the mat, like that. You're not going to use like a dark pencil line, just a super light pencil line. Then you say, okay, that's the window opening of the mat, right? Then you come over and you say, all right, I need to go a little bit beyond that. Let me go at least an inch beyond that. So you take an inch and go an inch each way beyond your mat opening, the window of the mat, and then you just take your ruler. You can get your ruler or any kind of straight edge, and then you just do this. And now you can kind of see here, I dipped my finger in my palette because I have my palette here. So these are unfortunate things in watercolor. When you're working with watercolor paints and things are going to get smudged. I've ruined paintings with tons of smudges and all kinds of stuff like that. Don't worry about it. Don't let it get you frustrated or flustered. Just keep going. Start another one if one gets all smudged up and schmutzed up. And then here you go. You say, all right, now I'm going to make this one larger. So this is where you would take your pencil and you would make your actual size a little bit larger. And the reason I do that, and I hope you'll understand this, is this way, once you're done with your painting, you have a little bit of wiggle room. So if we do that, we make our painting a little bit larger than what we know is the mat opening or the mat window, then you have extra room to kind of have some play with your painting. So now here what I do is I take my a kneaded eraser. So I have a kneaded eraser, that nice soft, gummy, soft, pliable eraser that makes no crumbs. And then I just erase that really light pencil line we made when we started. Okay, and that line is actually the opening. Now you can see that if I have my mat here, I can move it around, and you can see, you can start to see the line there now, but you can kind of see that I have room. So if you paint all the way out to these outer edges of this new pencil line we just created, that means you have extra room. So you paint all the way out to this outer pencil line, or even further if you want. And then when you're kind of finished with your painting and you say, all right, now I'm going to put a mat on it and I'm going to frame it, you drop your mat on, and then you have plenty of room to work and slide your mat around and find that perfect spot where it looks just perfect. And then that's where you say, okay, that's where I'm going to put my mat. And then you trim your paper around the outside edge, and then you put it into your frame. It's simple as that. And at the end of this video, we'll kind of show you how we're going to do that. We're going to just show you how you would put a mat and a frame together real quickly. Okay, so I hope you'll stick around till the end of this video to watch that process. And it's quite simple. And again, I'm going to explain that further. But let's get started with our actual project here. We're going to do some, again, beautiful palm trees, a nice tropical scene. We're not going to get too bogged down with too many details. Let's just kind of stick with the idea that we're going to do a beautiful bit of palm trees with a little bit of water, a little bit of some coastal shoreline, some ducks maybe, and we'll have it then at that point. We'll have a good rendition of a gorgeous palm trees along the shore. So the first thing I do is a lot of times you'll notice I do use a calipers, which are the golden mean calipers. So what you can do is with the golden mean calipers, this is actually just a real beautiful, pleasant space division that this creates for you automatically. So it doesn't matter if you're going this way or if you spin your calipers around this way, you're always going to have a really pleasant looking space division within your painting of where your subject matter is placed on your actual design of your painting. You don't always have to use this type of a rule, but it does actually help quite a bit. So if you just, you could do some research on golden mean and the space division that it is, and it'll give you actual dimensions. So you can measure it and say, well, if this is 5 inches, then this would be like 3 inches. So 3 inches and then 5 inches, or, you know, the larger the painting, but this just makes it real simple. You don't have to measure anything. You buy some golden mean calipers, and it gives you always the same amount of dimension, which is the golden mean dimension space division, like that. And you can use it this way. You can use it this way, like this. And then you could use it within other smaller sections of your painting too. So not to just get too much down a pathway where we're going to get into super serious considerations and minutia on the golden mean. The golden mean is something you can research on your own, in your own private, in your own personal time. We're here trying to create a beautiful painting so we can all enjoy ourselves and have a great time. But you can look up the golden mean and the golden mean ratio, and kind of you can see, and you can do research on calipers. They have all kinds of good calipers out there. You can get used ones on eBay. You can buy new ones on Amazon, all that good stuff. But let's just say I'm going to use it here, and I'm going to say, all right, for this painting, I'm going to actually make my trees, my palm trees, about this much over in my painting. So these will be my palm trees over here on this side of this area of the painting over here on this area. Then I'm going to leave this area kind of open with sky. Okay, so that'll be kind of my concept of what I want to do here. And then you can also take your golden mean calipers, and you can say, well, how about the sky in the shoreline or the distant mountains? So I'm going to say the distant mountains are going to be about here, behind the trees, palm trees. Okay, and then it'll go down. Maybe it'll trail down here this way, like that. Then we can come over here and say, well, how about our shoreline over here? Well, we could do this. We could take our shoreline and kind of do this, and then there's maybe another bit of, there's different layers to our hills over here, but let's make the water over here, and then we'll just shrink it down a little more and say, all right, there we go. Let's have some more. Well, let's do it this way. Let's spin it around this way now and do it this way and say, okay, that's the water in between here and here. Okay, so you can kind of already see I'm getting my space divisions and my layout for my painting using the golden mean calipers that I have. These are wooden calipers. They work great. You can use, these are quite large, so you can use these for like 18 by 24 paintings. These work great, for all size paintings, and you can use them obviously for smaller paintings any which way you'd like. You can use them any way you want around your painting. But that really does add a lot of pleasant qualities to your design of your painting. If you're using just that itself, you're already going to start out with a really good, solid, pleasant, pleasing looking design to your painting, having things placed correctly. If we were just for instance, maybe we can just use a little napkin here just to kind of do a little quick sketch. So let's say we're having some coffee together in a Starbucks or a diner, and we're saying, well, oh yeah, design, it's a really great thing, and with watercolors, and you might say, well, you know, you might be even sharing this idea with somebody else that's just starting out in watercolor, and they might ask you, well, so-and-so, what do you mean design? What are you talking about design in the golden mean? And you might say, oh, well, this is really kind of a basic, simple idea of it is, you know, if you have a piece of paper like this and you're going to create a painting, and you have this beautiful rectangle shape, and you know you're going to do all of your work inside this rectangle. Now, if you were just to say, all right, well, I'm going to create a painting. Let me just make the subject matter right here in the middle of the painting, like that. Well, that might not be the greatest way to design your painting if you're just going right into the center of your painting with your subject matter. And that's where we kind of talked about the golden mean, where you can take that idea and say, well, if you use the golden mean design principle, you could say, well, yeah, the center is sort of, it's not terrible, it's pretty good. It works in some situations. I'm not saying that the golden mean works in every situation, but let's just say if you're going to do like we're doing here, some palm trees, well, then maybe you're going to want to come over here and make your palm trees over here in this part of the painting. And then you're going to want to leave some open sky over here, and then some more palm trees over here, let's say. And then some shoreline over here. So that might look a lot better if you have your palm trees over here like so. And then this would be the golden mean, where you have most of your information over here, like that. And then you just have a little bit of smaller information over here and some restful space over here where you're just looking at some sky. So that's basically versus if you made your palm trees right in the center of the painting like this. Like that, and that might not look as good. So you have to decide, though, too, when you're doing your paintings and your design, what will look best, but can't hurt to sort of always give yourself the options of kind of working with the golden mean, the golden section. Okay, so that's important. Definitely wanted to touch on that. I also wanted to, again, touch on the, framing and putting mats on your work so that you can kind of already right from the start, before you even start painting, get yourself all set up so that when your painting comes out beautiful, and I know you're going to create beautiful paintings, you know, maybe it's going to be like 1 out of every 4 or 5 you're going to create look really, really good, and then maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 15 is going to look absolutely great. That's about what you're going to kind of find when you're doing your watercolor paintings. You know, one's going to turn out okay, yeah, one's going to turn out not too good. You're just going to toss that one to the side. But then after doing 10 paintings, you're going to find out of 10 paintings, you'll usually have one that's going to come out really good. And so that means that if you start out this way correctly first with your mat, and you have everything all set up, when that one painting turns out great after you've been painting for like a couple weeks, then you'll take that one and you'll put that one aside and say, yeah, that's the one I'm going to frame. I'm going to mat it, I'm going to frame it, and then you do whatever you want from there. All right, so enough said with all of our design ideas and our framing ideas, and we will do something again. Please stick around till the end of the video, because we're going to go over a little bit of framing, just about 5 or 10 minutes of framing ideas, so that you have that too, that you can use and parlay forward for your artwork. All right, so I'm just going to start here. I'm going to start making a distant mountain range over here. And then from this point, I'm just going to get a nice little palm tree over here, like this. And then we talked about we're going to have a bit of a shoreline over here. This is going to be our sandy shoreline over here. Then maybe over here we're going to have a little bit of sand, and then we're going to have a little bit of water. Maybe we're going to have just a touch of some water here like this. And then maybe some more water. And then maybe over here we're going to have a little bit more, there's some land over here. So I'll put some weeds and grasses and things over here just to let me know. This is where we're going to put some weeds and things over here with some bit of a marshy shoreline over here. There'll be some water over here. You can always put a W where you want to keep track of your lines, because a lot of times if you're drawing parallel lines across your paper for like shorelines and water and more shorelines, things like that, doesn't hurt. You can always erase these before you paint, but just make a little W here and there for water, or W. I also use W for white. So sometimes I want to leave white paper in my paintings, so I'll put little W's in the areas that I want to leave white paper so I don't paint over those areas. So that's a little fun trick you can do when you're painting and drawing, is make little notes on your paper, very subtle little notes that only you can see. I'm trying to draw them a little bit darker so you might see them on the painting here, but I'll do them very, very lightly, and then right before I paint, I erase them. Okay, so now let's do a few more. So we have, let's do this. We got this first palm tree coming up. And it's, wow, it's right here. Oh, look how good that looks. We're going to have some palm trees here, right over here. And I'm just trying to make some jagged lines, just so I know that these are the pine trees. And I'm sorry, not pine trees, palm trees. Forgive me. And then we're going to have another one here. And this one comes down here like this, maybe behind, it might be behind this little bit of a mountain range over here. There's some dark forests, some nice, interesting, darker forest area back here. It's a little bit mysterious. Then we're going to have another palm tree coming up like this. And this one's going to be taller, like this. And we just kind of go with the flow. Another palm tree here, another palm tree there. Palm trees everywhere. And we'll come down like this. Okay, like that. And some weeds around the bottom of the palm trees. Okay, there we go. So let's take a break now. We've gone through a lot of information. I apologize sometimes. Please forgive me if I kind of go too long without just taking a little bit of a mental break anyway, or, you know, taking a quick break. I know sometimes many of you on my channel, you kind of sometimes get a little aggravated because I talk a lot and throw a lot of information out here. But the reason I do that is because I want everyone to have as much information as possible. So if you find that you maybe are getting overloaded with too much information, honestly, please, you know, don't feel like you have to be frustrated over that. You can always like turn down the volume on your videos and just kind of like really like, if you find that I'm just throwing too much information out there, you know, maybe turn the video off, the volume off, I should say. Turn the volume down a lot. And then you just watch me go through the whole painting. Then maybe you can go back a second time and then just listen and not watch the video and just hear the information that I'm talking about. Because really, honestly, it's like if you're hearing the information when I'm speaking about it, that's like all of the information that's going to go into your mind and that you're going to draw from that in the future. So in the future, you'll take what you've been hearing and it'll kind of just link up with what you're doing when you're actually working on your watercolor paintings. So if I didn't talk and explain what I'm doing here, you might not really understand fully what I'm trying to convey and show here on my videos. But I don't hold it against anybody. If you complain that I do sometimes, you know, go on about what I'm doing, the fine minutia, the details of what I'm doing, but that's okay. I know some of you rather just maybe watch videos and not so much like learn about all the, because I'm basically teaching for those people that really want to learn the watercolor medium, succeed at it, create credible, beautiful paintings. So that's the reason why I do it. I try to just give you as much information as I have that I know about, and then you can use it and bring it into your work. But again, I never hold it against anybody if you get a little bit, tired of maybe too much information coming at you. But and in any case, I never am offended. You can leave your comments anytime you want and complain, or a lot of you give me a lot of great, beautiful comments, and I want to thank you for that, because most people are always leaving me great comments saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Great. We love it. We love it. We love it. So I'm getting great comments all the time. Once in a while, I do have a few people that do complain, and that's fine too. You can complain. That doesn't bother me. Okay, so let's get back into the video in just a second, and we'll finish out our palm trees, and then we'll get into the painting portion, okay? And I always mention too, please subscribe on the right-hand side below if you haven't subscribed. It just keeps you in touch with what we're doing. So when you subscribe, all that's going to do is the next time I make a new video, which is usually 2 or 3 videos a week, each time I make a new video, you'll just see that when you open up YouTube the next time, you'll see my video there, and you'll know that I've created something new, and we're all working together on the next painting, the next project. And that's all I want to do, is keep you informed. And YouTube also wants, lets me YouTube creates that subscribe button so that you can be informed of what I'm doing. So they give me a real good break by, letting you be informed when I'm creating new work and new videos and new paintings. So that's all that is. And I'm hoping that you'll also give me a thumbs up if you like what I'm doing here on my channel. I've been here on YouTube for many years now, and I'm continuing. Lots more to come. I am not going anywhere. Plenty more videos on the way. Okay. See you soon. In just a second, actually, we'll get back to finishing the drawing and then getting into our painting. All right, let's keep going. So we have our first few palm trees. We have I'll start to do a little bit of a darker pencil line here, just so you can kind of see. The darker pencil lines, so that we kind of can keep on the same page together here. Okay. Okay, like that. These little pencil lines are a little bit lighter. Those are the palm trees up here. They have those very, very fine palms that come out. So I'm just going to do some like that. And most of the work we're going to do with our brush. So that we can say for sure. We're going to have a lot of, and we'll come down here. And these two are sort of like that. So these are sort of 2 trees right next to each other. And there's another one over here. And as you can see, we're going to make a good grouping of palm trees here. And there might be some more trees and bushes back here, where we might have a few palm trees in the background here. Like that. And then maybe one more over here we're going to have. This one is going to be here. And then maybe one over here. We'll do another. Like this, and then we'll have another one back here. And I think that's about good. We did plenty of trunks of trees for our palm trees. And then over here, we kind of did some really beautiful palm trees that are quite up here. And we'll just take this one maybe like this and Bring this one up like this. This might be the tallest one of the bunch, like that. And then over here, this one might be another one over here, like that. And then we're just going to sort of make a bit of areas where we'll have a break. We're going to give ourselves a break. Always remember, in watercolor, sometimes you can give yourself a break by just creating some colors and some very, very kind of like gestures of something there, but it doesn't have to be as detailed. Over here, our palm trees are quite detailed. As you can see that, I've done a lot of the needles of the palms here and things like this. But then over here toward this section, we're going to calm it down a little bit, and we're not going to make it so much detailed with palms and all kinds of things like that and all the fine needles of the palms. We're just going to let it kind of be restful. This area over here is going to be restful, kind of easy going over here. And we'll make some darker darks over here, and then we're going to have some darks like we said before. We're going to have a bit of some white showing through. Again, you can put a W where you want to have some white paper showing through where the sky is. Put some W's where you think you're going to want to have some white paper showing through, or a sky, lighter tonal values. We talk about tonal values all the time. And then over here, there's more darker tonal values all through here. And then over here, it starts to get a little bit more, some sky showing through over here. But as we go, you'll see, I'll describe to you, as I'm going along, I'm going to describe what I'm doing, how I'm painting this all. But this is it. We have the palm trees over here on the right side. Then what we'll do is we're going to actually do a few distant palm trees over here. And we talked about having some areas in the painting that are a little more restful, calm, relaxed, not as exciting and as much detail. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to make a few palm trees over here. They're going to be smaller. They're in the distance, like this. And there's a few more palm trees over here that are a little smaller. So these are going to be small. These are in the far distance. This is right in front of us here in like pretty much the foreground. And then we have some palm trees over here in the distance. And we might even make these a little bit smaller. I might have already created too much detail, and large detail, I should say, here in the front area. So what I'll do is I'll just erase this a little bit. I want to make this a little bit smaller, like this, like that. And then over here too, there's another smaller palm tree. And these might even be other style trees too. It doesn't necessarily have to be palm trees over here. These could be other trees that are over here in the tropical areas that we're painting. And then over here, we're going to have a little bit of some ducks swimming in the pond here. In the foreground here. So we're just going to make a little oval. So for ducks and geese and things like this, when I'm painting those, I just make an oval, and then I just make a little bit of a neck shape for the head, and then another oval for the head of the geese or the ducks. like that. And maybe there's another couple small baby geese here. They're kind of following along like this. Okay, so we have some fun, interesting subject matter here. It's going to be great once we start painting in just a second. And I'm hoping that you're going to keep working along with us here. We'll have fun. Again, we'll cover all the details that you need as we go through this entire painting, as we always do. So we did the first thing first. We got our design all set up. We used our golden mean calipers to help us just start with a great design already. We kind of designed and created some design parameters in our painting. So we have the golden mean here for our distant mountains, like that. For the most part, it's pretty close. And then here across this part of the page, the horizontal, we kept it here, the main portion here, and then some free space over here with the sky. Again, just some simple design principles you can implement in your paintings. And let's keep going. Let me just take a quick break, and then once we come back, we'll start to do this wonderful tropical scene with palm trees and some ducks and some beautiful water and a nice sky for the background. And we'll get started just in a few seconds. All right, so we're picking right back up again, and we're just going to kind of one more time before we start painting is just mention a few things. So the first thing is usually when we're going to go in and we're going to paint, after we're done with our drawing, we usually ask ourselves, are we going to do this in more of an alla prima method or a glazing technique method? And those of you that have been following me for a long time, and if this is your first time here and you've never been here before, I want to say thank you. Welcome for coming by. I appreciate that you've landed here and you're kind of finding this exciting, this video and this painting. And I'm hoping you're going to maybe make a start of watercolor. And remember, the watercolor journey is like you just start at one place and you just keep working and going forward. You don't worry about if you've created bad paintings or if things aren't going great. None of that. You just keep working, learning week by week, week after week, month after month, year after year. You're watching all of the videos you can. You're watching my video channel. You're watching other videos on YouTube. Maybe you're going to pick up some books on watercolor. You just try to just bombard yourself with all the information you can for the most part, and you just use what you feel is helping you, and you'll just always be making progress. And I feel like if you're sticking with my channel here on YouTube, I believe you will learn all the fundamentals that you need in watercolor. So that's the most important thing. I try to teach the most logical, fundamental methods and techniques in watercolor that you need that will actually get you on a really good trajectory for becoming really good at watercolor. And so we're going to do that. So right now we're just going to mention the two types of methods and techniques you might use when you're going to go in and do a painting. You might do the alla prima method, and that's what we're going to do here. Or you could also use the glazing technique, which might work for this painting. That might be a good way to go too. You have to make that choice. You're the artist. Glazing technique. Okay, so you have those two basics. You can use them in combination of one another, but on this one, I'm going to say let's use the alla prima technique. Alla prima means just everything at one time. You're going to go in and do your painting, everything at one time. Glazing technique, basically, you're starting out doing all your really light washes first, your very, very super light washes. You cover your whole page with maybe your first glazing. You let that dry, then you come in, you do another darker couple of glazings over the top of that, and then you finish up with your darkest dark colors or your darkest dark tonal values. So that's the glazing technique. Alla prima here is we just go in all at one time and just start painting. And maybe with the alla prima method, usually we go in and do the darks first. So we go in and do our darker tonal values first. That's kind of just the basic concept of this right here, this painting. So what I'll do is I'll try to make this more, we'll try to make this painting quick, and we won't kind of like labor over every bit of detail here, but I'll just have a round brush here. This happens to be a number 8 travel brush, Da Vinci travel brush. These are great travel brushes. You can unscrew them like this, and you can put them in like this. And then you can put these in your backpack, your purse, your shirt pocket, your duffel bag, whatever it is, if you want to go out and paint on the weekends, or if you go on vacation, or if you go visit with some family, whatever it is, you can have your travel brushes with you, and you'll keep them safe so that you don't ruin the hairs of the brush. So it kind of protects your brush, and it also has a little hole in the top which lets the brush dry out. So that's another key point to a travel brush, a good travel brush. All right, so I have fresh, clean water over here on the right-hand side. And then I have, let me see if I can find some tissues here. So I usually keep a tissue on hand to dry off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water. So if I rinse off my brush, I might dry off a touch of water first on my tissue. Then I go in and grab my colors. So the first thing we want to do here is let's make this as effective as we can, and quick, and expeditious. Let's kind of, first thing we'll do is let's mix all the colors we're going to need for this painting for the most part. So when I look at my painting, I'm going to say that I definitely need some French ultramarine blue over here. A little more there. Then I'm going to go in and get some green, sap green, like that. So French ultramarine blue, sap green. Then we're going to use some olive green over here with maybe some cadmium lemon yellow too. Make a little bit of a lighter green like that. So there we have some really good cooler colors, the cool colors of this painting. Greens and blues here. And then over here we'll rinse off our brush again. And then maybe we're going to have some purples. That's also a cool color, purple. We'll have some ultramarine violet down here, right here. We're going to use that. And what else might we need? Then we might need some, some yellow, maybe on its own over here, just to have some clean yellow here. We mix the yellow in over here a little bit with the green, but that's pretty good. And then maybe some orange too. Let's do some orange over here. Okay. And then also too, let's get a little bit of black down here. Some Pines gray. And some ivory black. Like that. That's about all the colors we're going to need. And again, we'll just run through them quick. French ultramarine blue, sap green. Then we're going to have some olive green mixed in with a little bit of cadmium lemon yellow. Then we'll come down here and we'll add some cadmium lemon yellow, some cadmium yellow. That's like the warmer yellow. It's kind of an orangey yellow. Then we'll go with some orange, cadmium orange over here. And then over here we have some purple, mineral violet I use by Winsor Newton. That's my favorite purple. Winsor Newton, mineral violet. That's my favorite purple. And then over here some Payne's gray and ivory black mixture, just like that. Maybe even a little bit of burnt umber too, like that. Okay. Now, anything else? We're going to use all these same colors now. You might see me go back in and grab some more colors from my palette, but it's going to be these same colors we just mentioned. Okay, so that's really a simple thing to kind of remember. And then again, like we said, we're going to do everything a la prima, one time. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll start to get in my dark greens, which are on the undersides of these trees, these palm trees. And please notice I'm starting over here and working this way because I'm right-handed. So if I'm right-handed, I'm going to start over here and work my way over this way. If you're left-handed, you'd start over here and paint this way. And all that does is it just keeps you from smudging your paper and maybe smudging your arm or your hand into your paints or your fingers. So if you can start on the left side of the painting, if you're right-handed, and go this way, or again, if you're left-handed, start over here and you paint this way. That's all. Does that make sense? And then so here we're starting with our darker greens with that blue. And then we'll start working in. I'll rinse the brush off, dry off a little bit of water. And then maybe some lighter yellow here. Yellow and green, I should say. Lighter yellow and green. Splash a little bit. Maybe a little bit of orange and yellow. Like this. And what we'll do is we'll use our needlepoint brush here. So I'll rinse this off. We use a needlepoint brush like this. You can see how fine that point is on the brush, the needlepoint brush. Then you can kind of get some darker darks. And you do some of the really fine palms of the trees like that. And I think that's all you need, really. A couple down here, not too many down on the bottom. Let's make the top. And there we go. That's good enough to explain the story of a palm tree right there. And then you can also go in and get some more French ultramarine blue with a little bit of burnt umber. Maybe make another dark bit of shadowing there. And then down here, that looks good. All right, and then now we're going to come up here. And let's do some more darks there. And then you can kind of save yourself some time by maybe we're going to work around here and do some darker darks within this area over here, because we know this is all kind of lots of dense palm trees over here. Like that. So why not just get it in now, go right along like that, and just keep working away, paint away over here. And there's some more down here. Like that. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, sap green. Like that. And then let's get some more greens. Olive green, cadmium lemon yellow. And let's go up here. And we recall that we were mixing and mingling the colors. Ultramarine violet, let's start mixing some ultramarine violet in there, because we're going to add it other places in our painting, so let's make sure we add some ultramarine violet in there. I'm going fast now. I don't want to take forever here and waste valuable time, or you all want to get into this and get yourself started with this painting, start sketching and drawing your painting. So I'm just going to kind of cruise along here. I'll splash some orange colors on here a little bit, just to give it some spiced up colors like that. So I splash on some orange and some blue. Let's do some blue. over here. And then what I'll do is I will take my needlepoint brush again, greens, and that's all we have to do is add some of those green palms here and there. Doesn't have to be everywhere, just to give yourself the indication of, yes, there are some palms over here. These are palm trees. If we do that, we're going to be all set. We don't have to explain every single tree in this picture, just a few of them here and there, and that gives us the whole story. Okay, and that looks good. Let's come up here. So I'm using the green and then the green yellow. Same thing up here, green and green yellow. Fuse that in over here and down here. Then I'll get my needlepoint brush again. Like that. Okay, and then you could take your time more if you want, to get it a little more, detail is, if you want to do a little more detail than I'm doing, that's fine. But I think I've already I have the story now of palm trees here, really solid. And then, I'm going to add some darker darks down here. Okay, this is the dark forest colors. Shadows in there. We don't know. It's mysterious. But we're going to paint around these tree trunks. We don't want to cover those over, so be real careful. Where you have your tree trunks, make sure you leave those. Looking good. Maybe add a little bit of orange and green there. Okay, if you do go over one of your tree trunks, just scratch out with your nails if you can. You could always go back and use a little titanium white to recapture a couple lights. But now I'm just going to try to get in some of these darks here along this dark forest area here. And then maybe some lighter greens up here. It's we have some of these greens here catching the light. A couple splashes here and there, make it mysterious. Some greens here. There might be some sky showing through on the background here. Like that. And then we're going to continue right along here. A little bit of purple. What I would do, I would paint right over this and then do some scratches out to scratch out these tree trunks over here on these other trees. And I think I will do the, I'll do these trees here, the palm trees over here in the distance. I'll do those last after we do a little bit of sky wash. So does that make sense to do this, these little bit of tops of the trees last, because we know we got to go over with a little bit of a sky wash color, which is going to be light, right? So we're going to do a light sky wash color. No sense doing a dark here, a darker treetop here, and then putting a light wash over the top of it, because then it'll tend to kind of like reactivate the darker paint here of the tree tops, and then it kind of like diffuses, and it makes a mess, really, basically, is what I'm saying. So let that go till last. I'm hoping you'll find some educational value to what I'm saying on that point. And look how good that looks. You can take some tissue and lift up here and there. Do a couple little mystery bits of light and shadow within your forest area there, the forest area behind here. And you can break up a few areas here instead of making it all one light path going through there. And why not? A little bit of yellow, a little bit of sunlight kind of shining in here, picking up some of those leaves and things in the forest area. I hope you're having fun so far, enjoying this. I'll take a little bit of orange here. I'll scoop up some orange. You'd be amazed, a little bit of orange you put in here and there. It's kind of like just a little bit of an exciting color mixed in to the picture. You can diffuse some of it like that. Okay, now let's take another break. Let's just let this dry a little bit. We could go in and we have some more of these, and you can't go wrong with these needlepoint brushes. They're actually vital to your paintings when you're doing any kind of landscapes, seascapes, paintings. You know, they can be used for any kind of details, really, but really for landscapes, you know, especially like pine trees, things like this. Wow, you can get some great fine detail. Just a few little fine details of brush strokes with your needlepoint brush, and then it tells the whole story of these are definitely tropical palm trees right there. Okay, maybe a couple. And I forgot to do my nail scratches over here, and that's where, let's just do it really quick now. Let's take our titanium white with our needlepoint brush, dip a little bit of that white into that, maybe a little bit of orange or yellow ochre into the white, just to make it a little bit warmer, that white. And there we go. And then we talked about it before. If you went over if you, for some reason, you just wanted to get a couple more branches in here with your white, that's all you have to do right there. There might be some other type trees inside this forested area beneath the palm trees. And that's where you might want to put in a few of those with your white paint. Doesn't have to be everywhere, but there we go. Look how good that looks. Okay, now, again, let's take a quick break. I think once we're done with our break, we're just going to do the foreground here where we have a little bit of some sand, a little bit of water and a little more sand, and a little bit of maybe some more marshy areas with some green grasses and little wisps of weeds and things. So let's do that next here, the foreground, the closest foreground area to us here in this painting from our vantage point. And then from there, we're pretty much finished. And again, we're having a great time here. I'm glad you're stopping by, and I'm hoping, again, that you will subscribe. If this is your first time here, please subscribe. This way you keep in contact with us, and, we can paint together on a weekly basis. You'll be notified each time we create a new video. And if you've been with me for a while and you're not sure, please subscribe. Just, keep in contact. It's the best thing to do. This way you don't lose track of all the paintings that we're doing here. And, I know you probably are watching other artists on YouTube, and just hoping you'll also consider subscribing to my channel too as well. And I'm always doing all kinds of different subject matter, of course. We do everything from landscapes, seascapes, city scenes. We're doing portrait paintings, flower paintings, still life paintings, everything watercolor. So you basically will get a general feel for all of the subject matter that most all professional watercolor artists will create when they're doing their watercolors. So you'll be kind of up and running with the top professionals of our time. They're all doing the same things. They basically work with all the different subject matter in watercolor. So we're just doing the same thing. We're just jumping in there, practicing a little bit of everything. But please do feel free to paint the things that you like most. So if you really enjoy tropical scenes, ocean scenes, seascapes, boat paintings, well, then just do those and just stick with those for a while, and until you really have done them so much that you kind of feel like you need a change, and then you might go and switch over to some landscapes and things like that. But just keep yourself active, and you'll be fine. Thanks again for coming by, watching. We're going to finish up this painting in just a second. All right, perfect time. Let's grab some paper towels and some clean water. We'll just get our palette cleaned up a little bit here. We know the colors that we've been using. We're not going to change any colors at this point. And that's why in the beginning of the video, I kind of just showed how let's get all our colors mixed up on the palette right from the start. And then this way, you really can do most of your painting with most of the colors in your palette. And then sometimes you'll have to go in and dip in and get some extra color just to refill up your wells of your palette. But you should be able to, from the beginning of your painting, know the colors you're going to use, get them into your palette. And then if you need more as you're painting, you just dip in and go, oh yeah, remember this was ultramarine blue. Boom, grab some more ultramarine, get it in there. Works much better than trying to kind of think about it as you're going. That can be an issue. Trying to think about your colors, and while your painting is drying and you need to get your colors and your washes on your paper, better off just mixing all your colors into your palette. If you need a larger palette, use a larger palette. I use a smaller palette here on YouTube, incidentally, because it works so that I can get the palette in here and the painting at the same time, so you can see all the colors I'm using and how I'm mixing things. But ideally, I use a larger palette if I'm painting maybe a painting this size or even larger. I'll use a larger palette so I have a little more flexibility with larger painting areas to mix my colors. But that's why I do use a smaller palette, is so that I can fit it in my screen here. So you can kind of see my screen. I only have so much space. If we were painting together in a workshop, I would use probably a larger palette. And this way we would have, more room, bigger palette, larger paper, but I have to kind of squeeze things into a camera setting here. So let's continue on. So the thing that we said we wanted to do next was we cleaned up our palette just a touch, and then we're going to get in our sand color. Let's do yellow ochre, orange. There we go, yellow ochre, orange. Maybe a little bit of burnt umber, like that. And this is it. Let's get our sand color in here. And then we could take our colors, lighten it up a little bit here. Okay, you know, you do some light areas, some darker areas. Kind of mix it up. That's the key. Mix it up. Don't make it all one color or all one tonal value. Yeah, you try to mix it up a little bit. It kind of makes it interesting for the person looking at your artwork. They're kind of searching around looking for different interesting things in your painting. If everything looks bland and all the same, and then that could be a problem. Okay, and then we'll add some of this and we'll do some splashing. A little bit of just to give that feeling of sand, a little bit of darker, and just do some splashing here for that sand kind of feel. Then we're going to do some French ultramarine blue, like this, with a little bit of the mix of the brown and the yellow, just to kind of calm that blue down a little bit. French ultramarine blue is very powerful. It's very, very strong. So, and let's do that. Let's get some of that in there. Then maybe we go with a little bit more over here, a little bit of lighter, like that. Then maybe shift back over to the little bit of the darker blue. Again, mixing it up. Let's mix things. Let's change the tonal values. Let's change the color. Warm and cool. A little bit of warm and cool, warm. A little bit of warm in the blue. A little bit of cool in the warm over here. Like that. Then let's get even a little bit of a French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and maybe a little bit of the orange here. Okay, so now we're going to mix French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, a little bit of yellow ochre, orange, a little more blue, and we mix like a grayish color, and then that's where we're going to put this over here. And maybe a little darker. More French ultramarine blue, more burnt umber, maybe a little bit of the black. Like that. And look at how good that looks. And we're kind of just taking the same colors and repeating them down here. So we're not using any new colors, if you can imagine. We're sticking with the same color harmonies as we have throughout the whole painting. And then if you wanted to, just to harmonize the colors even more, you could take a little orange, like that, in a few spots, just where you see them up top here. And then blend them down a little bit, just kind of blend in some of that, maybe some green, some sap green. A little bit of sap green in there too. Kind of harmonizes that whole foreground section here down at the bottom of the painting. And then a little more orange and over here, a little bit of the orange, yellow ochre maybe. Picking up some of these same colors here. Then you can do a couple nail scratches here, or just smudges actually if you want, or you dry off your brush. Take your brush, dry off all the paint, make your brush super, super dry, and do that. This one's a little curved, like that. And that kind of just makes the appearance that this is actually the reflection in the water of the trees above. And then now let's get some sky washing. Why not? Sky wash. I'll empty my water. Get fresh, clean water when you're going to do the sky. If you're going to do a sky like this, fresh, clean water is a must. Then you can come in here and just say, okay, let's get up here and do a fresh area of our palette. We're going to use French ultramarine blue for our sky, but it's going to be a very subtle sky wash. Not too much orange, maybe a little orange in there. Orange, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre. Okay, just a real subtle sky wash. Maybe a little bit of French ultramarine blue at the top. So I'm just thinking up here. French ultramarine blue up here. That gives us that tie-in with the French ultramarine blue. Okay. And again, not too much water now at this point. We don't want to ruin all these fine, beautiful details of the palm trees by starting to flood the paper with too much water. So when you're doing alla prima painting, you're just remembering that when you're doing something like a sky wash here, you're not going to be, you're not going to want to add a lot of water. You just want a little bit of water. And you want to stay away from all these palm branches and things for the most part. And then what you want to do is down here toward the bottom, you want to add a little bit of the orange. And there we go. So what we'll do now is we will actually we'll come back now. Once this dries 100%, we'll come back and we'll do these few trees right here, the tops of these trees. Okay, so that's the thing you have to kind of remember to work strategically. I'll do a couple splashes up here like that. Blot up a little bit if you want. Make a couple clouds. Okay, good. Okay, we'll be right back and we'll just finish up here with our few details and we'll be complete. All right, so we had a break and now we're just going to come back and actually finish up our final details here, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then we're also going to do just a quick informational on a little bit of framing ideas. We talked about that at the beginning of the video, so we'll just go over it a little bit more too at the end of this video. So I'm trying to work in some interesting little, factoids and tidbits of information on framing, matting, so you can kind of think ahead a little bit about getting your paintings into some frames. There's all kinds of different framing techniques that people use that frame their own paintings. You can go to frame shops, of course, too. If you don't like framing or you don't think you want to do something like that, you can bring it to a frame shop and they can do a wonderful and beautiful job. Usually when I go to frame shops for some of my art projects where maybe someone's hired me to create a painting or 2 or 3, I'll take my paintings and bring them to a local frame shop, and they'll do an incredible job of matting and framing the paintings. They work with it every day, so they know exactly what to do to make it look the best that it can look. So usually frame shops can make your paintings look the best that they can be, because they have all that expertise in that field. So in any case, let's just kind of take a quick look here. Let's get a little bit of shadowing just on a few of the trees here. So the light is actually coming from the front of the picture here. So we're actually, the light's behind us. If you can imagine, the sunlight is behind us, shining this way, like this. So we're going to see some shadowing on the palm trees up top here and even below here in certain sections. So I'll put some of that shadowing on some of the palm tree trunks of the trees, like that. like that over here too. So if you can just imagine, you think of it as the sunlight is coming from behind us. If we're painting and we're sitting in a chair painting this scene, the sunlight's coming from behind us and shining onto all these beautiful palm trees. So, and maybe the sun is perhaps a little bit overhead, so it's not quite directly behind us, but it's actually high in the sky above us, behind us. So you'll see that shadowing on the trunks of these beautiful palm trees. And once you get those shadows in, that looks pretty good. I think that looks fine. And then if you have to, we can add in some green. You can take some green, blue. You can kind of use all the colors we've used before. French ultramarine blue, a little bit of brown, a little bit of some yellow ochre, some green. And we could just maybe do a little bit of brushing up on some of the tree trunks. Sometimes that works out good if you can just kind of sharpen up some of those tree trunks a little bit. But I did leave some sky behind here, so you can kind of see this is the sky wash, and then this sky wash kind of, you can see some of that sky area behind these palm trees here through the tree. So it gives you kind of a feeling of like a nice three-dimensional quality, and also a feel of kind of a lattice type feel where you can kind of see through the objects that are here. That looks really good. And then we're going to, again, we said we were going to do the bluish purple. So I'm going to say a little bit of green and a little bit of purple, French ultramarine violet. And we're just going to do a couple of these distant palm trees over here, like that. Just an indication. That's all we want to do. We don't want to overemphasize this whatsoever. Maybe a little bit of some finger painting here to lighten it up a little bit, like that. There we go. And then you can and maybe a few more touches of shadows, maybe on the bottoms of the tree trunks here and there, just a little bit. Who knows, there might be a little bit of some and then maybe maybe a little touch or a little more of the orange. Just a tiny bit of orange. But I wouldn't go anywhere near these trees here that we just painted with this orange paint. Just very around it, but not close to it. And then once those little bit of light trees that we did there, you could actually go back in later once those dry 100% and just add the rest of the orange. But I just wanted to put a little bit of orange just to give that sky a little bit of warmth over here. And that's it. So we are now 100% complete. And again, let's just go over a few framing ideas. Since we're working with this, we can just we can let this be just as it is. That's fine. What I think I will do is I will take just a quick break to let this dry, and then I can take my my framed painting and put it on top of this, and then I can just show you a quick idea on some framing things that I usually work on when I'm framing up my paintings for shows or gallery showings, or if I'm framing some paintings for people that have decided they want to buy or purchase a painting. I will frame paintings for people if they want to. And always remember that too. If you ever want to have a framed painting of mine, and I have numerous videos where I show my work on YouTube, so you can just look up art sale, Chris Petri art sale on YouTube. You'll see all my paintings that I have for sale. And then also too, if you want a special request where you want a special painting done of a photograph you might have from a vacation or a special place, I can also do those type of things, commission work, where you just hire me to do something that is very special to you, and I can paint those type of paintings. You can frame them. I can send you the painting, and you can frame it yourself, or if you need me to frame it, I can do that as well. So always remember that. You always have options. But let me just do that. Let me just use the blow dryer to quick dry this off fast, and I'll just finish up the video with a couple more framing ideas so you can kind of see what I'm doing here in my studio on an ongoing basis all the time, so that it gives you more things to think about, more information that can help you as you're starting to frame your paintings, mat your paintings, and starting to venture out and do some different things, okay? All right, so I will be back in just a second. All right, so I just changed up my setup a little bit here. We're just going to actually go over a quick framing idea or two. So this is basically a really beautiful frame I bought at a local art supply store, actually, and it's kind of like a goldish bronze kind of frame. I have a beautiful, like a kind of a Western style painting here, watercolor painting here. If you can see close up, I'll zoom in. You can see how I deckled the edges of this painting. So what I did is I put a piece of white matte paper first down onto my backboard. Then I took my painting and I deckled the edges. I trimmed around the edges of my watercolor painting. So you can kind of see I took my watercolor painting and I used a deckled edge creator. You can get these. This is called the dual edge ripper. So this is the dual edge ripper. I'm trying to find something that I can use as a backdrop for this so that you can kind of see what the name of the... Let's see if this works. If I put this here, that doesn't work. I need something dark. Let me see if I can find something here. Let me look around. Okay, so this is a masonite board I have. This is called a dual edge ripper. And it's got a very, very, like a sawtooth edge on it on both sides. And they make different versions of this with larger and smaller deckled edge creators that go around this. But this is the one. This is the classic. And that's what I used for this painting that you're seeing in here. And essentially how it works is kind of simple. We'll just so you can kind of see, this is how I did this here. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit closer. You'll see the painting there, how it's deckled along this edge here. So you put down a regular mat, like let's say a white or off-white mat. You set that down first, then you take your painting that you've deckled the edge around, and then you set it down on top with some a double stick tape, or they make other things called zots, which are basically small little dots of tacky material that you can put down onto your paper to stick and double stick your paintings to your paper. So then you do that, and then you put a mat over the top, and then you put your final mat over the top of everything. So basically this is great if you want to take your painting and kind of just fit it inside of the mat opening. So if you want to fit your painting inside the mat opening, the window of this mat, you just deckle the edges around your painting just a little bit smaller than the mat window, and then you can double stick tape that down to a piece of mat board underneath, and then you put your mat on top of that, and then there you have it. So you have like a really beautiful three-dimensional quality matting job here, and it looks really fantastic. I've done some gallery shows with this and people love it. I've sold many paintings like this where I do it in this fashion. It kind of looks like a scrapbook kind of look, so that can really be effective. So that's something that I like to do. And so we'll kind of set this aside. And then this is again the deckled edge. Let's see if I can set my masonite board over the top again. And then this is how I would deckle a painting. So let's say this is a recent painting we've been doing, and we want to deckle the edges of this painting. You just set your deckle edge down here like so, and then you just press your weight of your hand on the deckled edge, and then you just start to lift up your watercolor paper like this, and you do that, and then you get a deckled edge like so, and you just go right around like this. And what you would do is you would measure it so that you get your deckled edge just the right size as you go around. So you would measure where you want to put this deckled edge on your paper so that it ends up being just a little bit smaller than the opening of your mat. So if you want your mat to be, like if you have a mat that's this size, as you can see here, you just want to make sure your deckle edge is going to fit right in there. And we'll just continue on here so you can kind of see the effect of it. And then you just, so you'd measure first where you want to have your deckled edge with a pencil and a ruler, and you get it just right. And then you just, again, you put a good amount of weight on the, just like that. You can kind of see how that works. And then you would just take your mat and you just put it right around, just a little bit around the edges like so, like that. And then you would put another mat underneath your paper. Let's even try to do that. Let's get that. So I'll just use a piece of watercolor paper. Okay, so I'll just use a piece of watercolor paper. So this could be either watercolor paper or some matte material or whatever paper you want to use. Then you double stick tape your painting down on top of that. Then you take your mat and you go over the top of that, like that. So you're already creating beautiful three-dimensional quality into your matting like this. And then you just set up your mat like so. And there you have it, a beautiful deckled edge around your painting. And you don't have to worry about being exact as far as if you paint your painting larger, then you just trim your painting down with your deckled edges so that it fits within a standard size mat. This is obviously a mat that I've cut and trimmed so that I can use it to frame out things that I'm doing, to figure out what's the best place to trim down my paintings. But that's how you do it, and that's it. And then once you do this, it's kind of simple. You buy these frames in your local frame shops, right? They're very simple. You always wear some gloves, so let me get my gloves. Whenever I do any kind of framing, you always want to make sure you're wearing gloves, thick, heavy gloves that are not, so that you won't have any problems with the glass or anything like that. I usually mostly use lucite plastic for my framing. I usually don't use glass framing. I usually use plastic framing because I don't like glass. It's kind of heavy. So if I'm making a large painting, like a 24 by 36 painting, I use the lucite plastic for my glazing for my frames, so that the painting is light. And this way it's not heavy, and if it ever falls off the wall, it's not going to shatter because it's plastic. But there you can kind of see, you can buy these frames right in your local hobby shops and stores or online. You have these little clips that are movable clips, so you can unmove your clips then you can just take anything, something small. You can just take this in here and you can just lift it out. And you just lift out your, so you can kind of see I have this. So again, this is the mat. This is the mat, the outer mat. This is the painting that I deckled the edges. And then underneath that is that piece of watercolor paper that I talked about that you can use. And then you just take that and you just put it right into the frame. And again, you can buy these frames just like this with all you have to do is put this together, which is your painting with your deckled edge, or you could just, you know, make a full-size painting and put a mat over the top of it. It doesn't have to be a deckled edge. I'm just showing you that I do like using deckled edge like this, right? So you have the mat over the top of that. You flip it over, you put it into your frame as easy as this. So you can frame your paintings and put them up on the wall, give them as gifts, enter them into shows if you want, or local art institutes that you might be involved in, or you might want to research what local arts institutes are near where you live, and you can maybe get involved in doing some shows or putting in your paintings for competitions or free giveaways, whatever. It's just a fun way. Art's a beautiful and pleasant thing to be involved in, and you have a great time of it. And then I just put on a small wire here, and these come stock on the paintings, on the frames. So these come usually too. Sometimes the frames even come with the wire on them already set up, but I actually added these clips here for the frame, and that's it. You're all set to go, and then you just flip it over and you have a really beautiful painting like that. You have the frame all set, you have your mat there, your deckled edge painting, and you are really all set. You have a gorgeous finished product for your paintings, and I'm sure you're going to be creating lots of beautiful paintings in the future as we're working together. So try to remember, maybe you can save this video or write it down, jot it down on a piece of paper so you can come back to it again. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks again for stopping by. Again, I hope you're subscribing, and I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and let me know, hey, this is something you really enjoy, with these little bit of going down a little bit of a trail, off in a different direction for just a few minutes on our videos to kind of cover some other things that we don't normally do. Usually we're just going full force with our paintings. I wanted to just do something a little different, add in some more content to my YouTube channel so that you feel like you're kind of learning other things just besides, you know, the painting process. We're going to cover a little bit of framing here for you so you can kind of see how you can take some of those beautiful paintings you're creating at home and put them into frames, make them look more, this takes it to a whole nother level. You can create a beautiful painting. When you start putting them into frames and matting them, you can't believe how great they look, and you'll be really extremely satisfied with that and ecstatic, perhaps even overjoyed, so that you'll be even more stoked to keep painting, keep practicing, keep working along here with us on this channel. All right, we'll see you soon. Happy painting. Enjoy the watercolor journey. It's a fun journey. And we'll see you again on the next video before you know it. Hi everybody, I'm Chris Petri. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for stopping by my channel here. We're doing watercolor art 24/7. We're actually going to do a delightful painting today. We're going to use some simple subject matter. We'll do a still life. We have a coffee cup here. I have a plastic fruit, which is an orange, styrofoam. So you can use real subject matter. I have a large amount of faux fruit. If you look up faux fruit online, you can find really all kinds of great, every apples, oranges, grapes, you name it, pears and different style apples, green apples, you know, Granny Smith apples, red delicious apples, every kind of fruit and vegetable you can imagine. Styrofoam. This looks very real, very convincing. They have a really beautiful detail the way they created these, so you can find some really good quality faux fruit. And what's nice about this is you can put it into a bag or a duffel bag and bring it anywhere you want and practice watercolor. And you can also leave it in the studio. You don't have to worry about anything like bugs or things going rotting or anything like that. You know, I leave my faux fruit in my studio, and I have everything: limes, lemons, you name it. Like I said, all you know, as much as they've made every kind of faux fruit and vegetable you can imagine. So I'm going to use just a simple orange. I'm going to use a simple white coffee cup. I'll use also a pitcher. Maybe we'll create. Maybe I'll make a pitcher. You know, just like for. Sometimes I'll just recall. I have a numerous amount of pitchers, clear glass pitchers for flowers. I have I have a couple white pitchers for flowers. So I have all different kinds of still life things in my studio that I use, and also sometimes I'll just draw from memory, and maybe we'll do that here for some of our items. But again, you know, be creative. Set up a couple little still life setups for yourself, and just practice on those. And here we'll do that. We'll set up a nice across. I'm just going to set up a little few things. I'm going to take this here, and we're going to tape this down. Let's tape down our paper, our watercolor paper. Tape down our palette. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll tape this down first here. And it's always good to tape down our watercolor paper, and then tape off our sections that we want to. This way, when we're done with our exercises and our compositions, we can just take the tape off, and we have a finished painting right there, waiting to put into a scrapbook, or we can put it on the wall and take, look at it for a few weeks or so and kind of critique it ourselves. That's always good to do. You know, you take your paintings and you hang them up in your house, or give them away. You know, you give them away sometimes too. Maybe you're going to sell them a few times here and there to friends, or gallery shows, whatever you do. But as an artist, it's always good to take your work and display it in your studio in your house, and you can learn from it and say, I like that, I like this, I like that other thing I did there, and maybe I'd like to do this different next time. I think I could make it look better in this section or that section, or so forth. So always try to improve a little bit each time, and also enjoy the victories that you have when you're painting. So here, let's go in and we'll do just a simple composition, just so we can get some cool ideas here of. So I think I'll. So here I'm doing a pitcher, and then I'm going to do my coffee cup and the saucer. And I'm going to come around this way and we'll do our orange here. So this is just a fun composition. We're trying to maybe we'll have a little bit of fun design on this. We'll do some blue ornamentation on this, and we'll do some more design here too. Do some more ornamentation on our just lightly here. I'm going to do a very light, just so I remember to have some ornamentation and interesting details on our vase here, our white vase. In this exercise, we should keep things loose, keep things fun. Maybe we'll pretend there's a little plant over top of this here, some flowers. Maybe there's a larger vase over here, and there's some leaves and things here. So we'll just make an indication of that. Okay, that looks good. And again, here we're having fun. We're just going to mix some colors and have a good time here. We're not worried too much about, is this a, award-winning, painting or anything like that. We're just having fun. We're going to practice the fundamentals of watercolor right now. So right now we just did our contour drawing. We went in, we looked at our subject matter. It could be from a book, from a picture. You might set up your still life with some cups and saucers and so forth, and fruit. You can use real fruit. You can buy faux fruit, and vegetables and all kinds of interesting things. You could, if you don't like those type of things, you can set up things that you have around the house that you like. Maybe you name it, anything, kitchen items, some of favorite heirlooms, things like that. Anything that you want, you can just really set them up and draw them and paint them. So here I'm just doing a nice loose representation of coffee cup and an orange and a white vase. We're going to do some blue ornamentation on this. And there's maybe a little some leaves here. And let's see how we can just make this fun. Alright, I'll get my brushes here. Okay, and I have fresh clean water. Okay, let's get right in and we'll do some of the darks. Let's take some of that blue for our ornamentation. That is French ultramarine blue mixed with a little burnt umber, maybe a little burnt sienna. Okay. And maybe we'll blot out a little bit there. And maybe we'll go in with some sap green and some olive green. And we'll get a little bit of that leaf shape in there. This is fun. Look at this. How easy is that? This is just absolute fun with colors, and all we did was really set down a nice little bit of contour drawing, nothing fancy. And now we're letting our paints do the fun, the work. A little splashing. Loosen things up, splash a little bit, have fun. Don't worry too much about how perfect it looks. We're having an enjoyable time here. Alright, so we have a little bit of blue for our ornament here, a nice little stripe going along the top of the vase. Let's do some cobalt blue. And just a little flicking around of the brush to pretend we know what we're doing. There we go. Another great little bit of design. And how about here? Maybe a little bit of mineral violet. We'll go over here, mineral violet, purple. mixed in with a little cobalt blue. Change up the color a little bit. There we go, another little flick of some detail, and we got it. There we go. And a little more here, maybe some more in detail on this beautiful vase here. And again, we'll go right into the French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna. And let's do a little okay, now we'll use our needlepoint brush. And we'll even get into some more fine detail. Even this is pretty fine detail right here, but let's get even to some additional fine detail. Let's perfect. Okay, now let's take a little bit of that green that we have mixed here and a little bit of the blue and purple over here, and let's do some shadowing. Maybe a little cerulean blue too. A little bit of yellow ochre too, mixing a little bit of warm. Okay, now we're doing negative shade painting. We're taking this area here and we're accentuating the light on this side of the vase over here. So the light's coming from here. If we want to make sure, we just take a light insignia like that with a light bulb, and we say the light's coming from here. A little more of yellow ochre, just to warm up that cool green and blue that we were using. Okay, now we're at the bottom of the vase, which is in shadow. The light is catching this side of the vase and the so we'll let that be like that. There we go. Now to make sure that we accentuate the light on this side of the vase, we will put a little bit of green and blue over here. Maybe a little mineral violet. And maybe we'll just lightly fade this out over here. But this is good. Make sure we do a little bit of a darker dark over here. Again, negative shade painting. We're painting around the subject to make it appear. So if we didn't paint this tonal value, this little darker over here on this side of the vase, then that part of the vase would not look as if it's there. So we want to make sure we paint negative shade painting to keep our subject matter looking real. Let's do our orange. Fire in that beautiful orange, cadmium orange. How does that look? That looks great. Let's add a little cadmium red to the bottom section here of that cadmium orange. And some yellow ochre. And then as we go up, let's fade it a little bit and make it lighter up here. There we go. A little bit lighter up here. Even if you have to use the tissue and lighten it up a little bit on the top of the orange. Perfect. A little more cadmium red in the bottom. And then we can mix that on. We use a dry brush. We take our, clean our brush, dry it off on the tissue. And then we can take some straight paint right out of the palette and go right into the painting. Don't even worry about mixing it onto the palette. Just go straight into the palette and right into the paint, onto the painting. And just dance the brush around a little bit here and there. Rinse off the brush again, dry it really well with some tissue, and then you can just move the paint around a little bit. Rinse off the brush again, dry it again with no paint, no water, and then just you get a nice sense of light on the top of the orange. Plenty of darker tonal value on the shadow area here. The orange is catching more light on top. And then let's go in, we'll do a little bit of shadowing on our coffee cup. Maybe we'll use a little bit of alizarin crimson here in cadmium red. And maybe we'll just do some exciting red over here. Sometimes we don't always have to stick to what we see in front of us. We can add different things to make it look better. That's what I'm doing here. I'm adding orange and red over here a little bit just to make things look better. And I'll go in with some French ultramarine blue again, a little bit of green, a little bit of shadowing under there. Let's get back into some of the greens up here. Let's change our color a little bit, add a little more burnt umber. Or add some burnt umber to that green, which would be sap green and olive green, just to give us a little bit of a different look. Keep things different. Big leaf, small leaf. I was noticing my drawing, everything was looking the same size. All the leaves here were looking the same size. That's not a good look. It's better to change things around a little bit, have things look different, non-symmetrical. So I had one larger leaf and one smaller one. And we'll put a little more green there. And some cerulean blue with some of that green. Then we can go into some yellow ochre. Then we can go back, we'll pick up our needlepoint brush, some raw umber and some of that yellow ochre, and dance the brush around a little bit just to get a little variety here. Then we'll go in, we'll get some more sap green. And again, negative shape painting. I'm going to paint around that handle a little bit. And just splash and I'll paint in that edge of this vase here. Maybe a shadow over here a little bit. Another little splash over here. And maybe some green over here just to balance things. So I'll put some green over here. Alright, that is it. That is how simple we can have things in watercolor. Just taking a couple simple things like a coffee cup, an orange. You can pick, lemons, limes, any kind of fruit, vegetable you like. You maybe put down a picture, maybe some leaves, some shapes of leaf forms next to it. You don't necessarily have to draw a bouquet of flowers. Here you could just put something nearby, so you have a feeling of like this is near a bouquet of flowers or some a plant, some potted plants. You can expand this idea, make it a full painting, and then add in a potted plant or whatever you would like. But I think the key is it's really fun in watercolor to just do small parts of things. And once you practice small parts of things a lot, then you're sort of already ready to do it in a larger painting. Let's say if you want to make a large painting to frame or to bring to a gallery, if you're maybe going to have a gallery show, or if you have someone commissions you to do a painting for them and they see your work and love it and they want you to paint a painting for them, and they ask you if you can make it 18 by 24. So if we're always working in smaller format, that can be an issue. But if we paint our smaller format, smaller parts of the larger whole, then we can take this idea, add a potted plant to it within a larger painting, and then we have our painting. A coffee cup, a vase, a couple pieces of fruit, and a potted plant. We've already painted this, so now all we have to do is practice doing the potted plant a few times, let's say, and then we can make a larger format, a larger painting, and then we have it. Here I think the only thing I would add is maybe just a little color just over the okay. Alright, I hope we had fun here, and this is, again, you'll always hear me say it, have fun with your watercolors, enjoy, let's work on small comps, and then eventually doing the bigger, larger paintings is no problem. And if we peel off our tape, this makes a perfect small composition to pin up on our wall next to our desk where we work, our studio, our office. Maybe we work in the office and we want to put up a small painting. Maybe people come by, they love it, they want one too. You can create a couple of these, make prints of them, or make a couple for our friends at work. Okay, again, let's see if we could as you can see, nothing too fancy, really just very loose, very free, getting the basic shapes drawn in, and then just, putting in the color. And really we used a lot of negative shape painting here. We painted around this white vase quite a bit. The top, around the handle, inside of the handle. So we did a lot of negative shape painting here, painting around an object to make it appear. And as well over here on this side of the vase, we added that paint here to make this side of the vase accentuate that so that we can see that clearly. And lots of good color and fresh color, and we had a lot of fun doing it. Alright everyone, we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.